What if you had a friend that was like always miserable and then they went online and they talked about it on a podcast?
Oh, that'd be awful. I'd hate them.
I mean, you would be concerned, right? Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
And welcome back to another episode of Pickles and Vodka, the mental health podcast, where it's a shit show and you love it.
Yes.
I'm Christina.
And I'm Lauren.
And today I am so excited because Lauren has chosen the topic.
Yes.
I feel like
like we're...
Go on.
We're about to say the same thing. I feel like this is old school.
Oh, I was going to say it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever structure we had there for a while, we kind of lost, but I think we're getting back into it.
Yeah, we're talking about doing polls again.
Yeah, we are thinking about bringing the pickle polls back, which if you're a new listener, basically how we used to do the podcast is we take turns picking topics every other week, or every other week we will do a poll.
Yeah.
I can't even remember it.
Yeah, it was basically like one
It's hard to explain, right? Why is this so hard to explain?
Okay, so the weeks went topic, poll, and also for like each topic, we took turns like Christina picks one, Lauren picks one.
Yeah, like I would pick one, we would have a poll episode, then you would pick one, then we'd have a poll episode.
Yes.
And the poll episodes, if you're new, are basically we would put a question out on Instagram and people would either respond with comments or they would send in voicemails, and then we would just spend an entire episode going over y'all's answers.
Yeah, so that was a good time to just, talk about what you guys think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we want to do that again.
Yeah. But before we do that, housekeeping. We didn't do any housekeeping last week.
I'll believe you.
Did you say you're leaving?
No, I said I'll believe you.
Oh, I thought you said I'm
I feel
leaving.
like I haven't had a brain for 2 weeks.
Same. Yeah, so if you haven't followed us on Substack, that's our website, picklesandvodka.substack.com. We have a chat on there, which would be a great way to distribute the pickle polls in the future. In addition to Instagram, I'm going to be posting a poll on there this week. I just decided in this moment. So yeah, go follow us there for fun stuff. It's free. And we need the validation.
Always.
Also, we are looking for guests. So if you have something that you just want to talk about, but it's too awkward for real life, maybe this is the place.
Yeah, you don't even have to, use your name or anything like that if it's even too awkward for someone to know I'm talking about this.
Yeah, or if you just have a topic that you have a lot of feelings about and you just want to talk about it with us, then that's honestly perfect.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, that's how I got here. I just told Christina, I was like, I really want to talk about something.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, come on in.
And remind the listeners what your very first topic was when you were a guest.
So she had a lot of guests on that talked about eating disorders and eating disorder treatment. And I had been royally screwed over by health insurance, and a lot of people are. So it was talking about health insurance and trying to get it when you have mental health problems.
But yeah, if you want to get in touch, our email is picklesandvodkapodcast@gmail.com, and we're on Instagram at picklesandvodkapodcast. I just wanted to get that out of the way first.
That's fair.
So Lauren, where are you at this week?
Stressed. Just kind of feeling like everything going on, but mostly work, because the past week or so, it has felt like just all of these extra disasters that I have to solve. I mean, I don't know how to explain the general theme of them, but I think I can best do that by explaining one of them, which is that we pay a company for expense report software, and we only pay them $75 a month. I mean, it's not this huge astronomical amount that they're getting their panties in a bunch about. But they came back to me this Monday and were like, we haven't received payment for the last invoice. And I'm thinking, yeah, you have. And, and I look on our bank where it's kind of like an automatic ACH payment. And I'm like, okay, yep, it went through. It didn't get rejected. It didn't get reversed, anything like that. And it came out of our bank account and it never went back in. And they're trying to be like, well, we got the payment, but then it got reversed. I'm like, no, it didn't. So it's just like I have to do all of this extra work because I apparently did everything correctly, but they want to say no. I have to do all this extra work just to like prove that I did everything correctly.
So when you experience stressful stuff at work, especially stuff that you're getting blamed for or you're having to fix, but it's not your fault, what is your, how does that impact your mental health?
Well, the rest of the story, I think it was like extra sucky this week because there's all of that stuff going on. So I feel like I am having to put out all of these fires unnecessarily. You know, like if everybody had just done their job, then I shouldn't have to, but I have to fix everything. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, we have a monthly work meeting. And we had it yesterday. We've been doing something every time, you know, like we've just been playing little games where it's like, everyone put in your favorite movie and we'll guess what it is and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that's been kind of fun. But this time, our office manager decides to hand out little slips of paper and say, you know, like, we don't always see what the other like groups are doing and you don't always know what everyone is up to. You know, like everyone gets involved in their own kind of job and you might not be like thinking about what everyone else is doing. And so she's just like, so, you know, just like anything you've noticed, basically kind of like giving shout outs to people. Like just put a few in and then we'll read them at the end.
Oh, God.
I got 0.
No.
Yeah.
Did it really catch you by surprise?
Yes and no, because I am the only person who does accounting, so I understand that, like, they all do insurance, so no one really, like, understands the specifics of my job, but I feel like I'd helped out a lot of people in my office, as well as the idiots outside my office that want to say things like, you didn't pay us when we did. So I thought, you know, like, maybe that'd be on someone's mind, and especially with, like, the theme of it, like, people that you don't always interact with or don't always see, maybe they'd think, like, oh, hey, you know, I don't work with Lauren really because we do different things, but she helped me out or something.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, yeah, it really is a thankless job.
Do you consider yourself someone who needs not praise, but like feedback?
I don't. I feel like I'd rather have a raise, but I do feel like when there is just like a huge imbalance between everyone else and me, I mean, then you're going to notice and it's going to feel shitty.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a thankless job.
Yeah, like I just felt really shitty after that. And I went back to my desk and like the only way that I could like bring it down to just kind of feeling like neutral is I was like, well, you know, they don't know what I do. So I guess if no one notices me, that means I'm doing everything right. Like they'll notice if I screw things up.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It's not that you necessarily, this is my impression. It's not that you necessarily have a gripe with like them in particular. It's that it's the job you're realizing is like, well, thankless. And that's a really shitty feeling. It's like, what am I even working towards?
Yeah, and it is particularly here because it is such a small group, I think. Like, I worked for a company in Chicago where I was in their accounting department, but notice department.
Yeah.
Know? So there's at least like 6 or 7 other people doing similar things to me and working with me on a daily basis, so.
Yeah. That's the one thing when I got my first like big girl job, I was the only one doing marketing. And I went from having a team of people around me all the time at Starbucks to just, you know, doing what you do is just sitting at a desk by myself most of the day. And I think it's really hard for me to work that way.
Yeah, there's things I like about it and things I don't. It just left the week feeling kind of sucky.
Yeah.
So where are you at?
Oh, I was going to ask if you saw your dietitian today.
Oh, I did. It went pretty well, which means I was honest with her, but probably only to a point.
Hey, we'll take it.
She sent me a note afterwards.
Oh my God.
That says, "You did a fantastic job sharing your progress and challenges today. Keep up the great work and your life-giving distractions like your aerial class, band practice, and your podcast."
Oh my God, we're a life-giving distraction?
Yes!
Okay, that needs to be our permanent tagline.
Oh, I do like that.
Welcome to Pickles and Vodka, the life-giving distraction.
I love it.
Oh my God. No, that seems quite presumptuous. Aw, I'm proud of you. I know you were like trying to decide whether to tell her certain things.
Yeah, so it means that we're going to meet again in 2 weeks instead of, like putting it off for a month like I probably would have. But
Do
whatever.
you have any homework?
Mostly just to continue the life-giving distractions. Because we were talking about that, how I said I feel like the shitty thoughts feel like they're with me and they are just never going to go away for the rest of my life. And we've talked about that here too.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think of that now when I'm doing things like aerial classes, but to some degree, I said it does feel kind of like saying like, well, great, I have a distraction. And then it's all right back to where it was as soon as I'm done with it. And I'm like, am I just distracting myself? But we also talked about worse ways that I've distracted myself. So
Exactly.
That's why.
And I think a lot of us think that distractions are inherently negative. Like there's something else we should be focusing on, but instead we're just distracting ourselves. Like that has such a judgy tone to it now that I think about it. Like maybe distractions are good.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously they are. That kind of ties into where I'm at this week to move things along. IOP has been a really good distraction, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Like every time I go in, it's really hard not to be like, I know everything you're gonna tell me. You can't offer me anything new. What good can you possibly get out of this? And so I've been really trying to keep an open mind this time. It's exhausting, though. I only have one day out of the week where I don't have like any obligations. And so I've just been guarding that day fiercely.
Yeah.
Like no plans.
I totally understand.
Yeah. But last night I went to the symphony with my dad.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a whole thing.
A story.
Yeah, there's a story. So first of all, rewind to that morning at IOP. I had my monthly meeting with my psychiatrist. He and I got off to kind of a rocky start. I didn't think he liked me, but now that we've known each other a little longer, like his humorous side has come out and we have a rapport now.
Okay.
And so I was honest with him. I said, I'm seeing my dad tonight and I really want to use drugs. And he was like, please don't do that. Because, I went one day without Benadryl this week for the first time in like 6 months. So he wants me to keep that momentum going. But what I do is I have a little win like that. And then I'm like, oh, better celebrate by taking drugs.
Yeah, I understand that.
Anyway, I knew I didn't want to take Benadryl, but I was like, I cannot be stone cold sober for this. My dad and I have a complicated relationship. I guess you could say we struggle to connect these days for a lot of different reasons, but I think he triggers me a lot, but it's not always his fault. And this can apply to anyone from your past that maybe had a role in traumatizing you and things are good now, but you still can't control your like bodily responses when you're around them. Do you have anyone like that?
Yeah. My mom.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that to say, I really wanted to go in and have a fun time with him and not feel that way. And so I took mushrooms. Well, I had like half of one.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a great time. We had dinner at this Mediterranean restaurant and we talked about my brother who's getting out of jail tomorrow. My mom and my dad are both driving to Indiana today. It's a 14-hour drive.
Oh, wow.
So we talked about that and how he was feeling about it. And then we went to the symphony. There were a lot of people, which made me immediately anxious. I don't like crowded places, especially since COVID. And towards the end of the first act, I was just like really distracted and wanting to leave. And so I was like, let's just go out to the smoking patio. I'm feeling really claustrophobic. I don't know why I'm telling this part. It doesn't matter. Basically, by the time we go back in, I'm feeling really anxious. We sit down and I turn around and I see my psychiatrist behind me. So my psychiatrist, whom I had just saw that morning, and I told him I wanted to do drugs, I am now on mushrooms in the symphony, feeling like we didn't look each other in the eye, but since he's right behind us, I know he knows who I am. Yeah. And also now I'm like, well, shit, I can't get up early because like everyone will see. But the second act turned out to be like this weird avant-garde piece and the microphone was having a malfunction we could barely hear. So we ended up just leaving anyway.
Okay.
And that's it. That's my juicy story. I'm ready for the topic now.
Okay. I am so excited about this topic, even though it's very, very general, because it really reminds me of the very first time you surprised me with a topic. You gave us pets to talk about.
Oh, yeah. That was our first one?
Yeah. At least it was the first one you surprised me with.
That was a good one.
So today, we are going to talk about friends. And I had some jumping off points, which I just said, how do your friends help you? How do they sometimes hurt you? Are you good at making them? And maybe just kind of your history of friendships.
Ooh, well, let's work our way backwards. Let's start with the history.
Okay.
It's short because I don't have any friends. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I never did have a lot of friends growing up because we were homeschooled.
Yeah, I thought yours would be, interesting because you had a different situation.
Well, yeah, it is interesting. Like, we were homeschooled, but on top of that, I was a very shy, introverted kid. And also now realize that I was queer and I never realized it. And so I've felt uncomfortable around, like, other girls, for instance, most of my life. I've always felt intimidated by them, and I've also felt this, like, yearning to be close to them. So, like, I've never had a ton of friends, but the ones that I've had tend to be really close, like, text each other every day kind of close.
Yeah.
With that said, not all of those are healthy. I've talked a little bit about it on here before, but yeah, most of my friends have been online, to be honest. And a lot of those friendships have grown into real life friendships. So I want to, start all this off by saying that when we talk about friends, we are absolutely talking about online friends too. I mean, look at me and Lauren.
Of course. Exactly.
Lauren and I met online and we ended up meeting in person. But my history of friendship, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before, how we kind of hate the best friend trope. Because I feel like I've never really had a best friend. I don't even know if I agree with the concept of best friends. We can talk about that later, maybe.
Yeah, because we talked about, like, not liking the best friend trope, as you said. But I also know, like, for a lot of my life, I think I always just felt, like, really sad. Like, I wish I could have that.
Exactly.
I see it in movies. Yeah, I see other people that are so close. And I'm just like, I just can't have that.
Yeah, and like every guy that I've had a relationship with in the past, I think I was really just looking for that best friend. Yeah, what about you? What's your history with friends?
So I think that I made friends really easily, and I didn't think about it at all until we moved right before second grade for me. Because I think of that and I'm just like, I thought nothing of it if it was like, oh, some neighbors moved in with a kid my age. And it's like, oh, it's a boy. So what? They're people. We can all be friends. Just all the kids at school, I felt like I got along with great. There's tons of people at like my 6th and 7th birthday party. And then we moved, and all of my family has talked about this since I was an adult. Like, I didn't realize everybody kind of struggled with this, or even that I probably did from day one. Just to a lesser degree, because I knew, like, junior high and high school, everyone was super cliquey. They were not interested in outsiders. And I mean, I was an outsider even in high school because I had not grown up with these people since I was a baby. And, they didn't all know my family. And I also was an outsider because I went to a very small Catholic school and there were 18 kids in my grade. So once I go to public school with all the kids that have been going to school together, But I think, like, even in, like, 2nd and 3rd grade in that little Catholic school, then it even still felt like I had to work hard and made a couple friends there. And still, I don't even feel like it was that super close relationship like that. And it does always feel like they were just kind of like, well, yeah, because she's the other one that came in here.
Yeah. I can relate to that because I was homeschooled until my senior year of high school, and then I went to a private Christian school with a class of 13. So, but yeah, they had all been together since like the 3rd grade, and to their credit, they were all very polite and nice to me, but it was rough. And I feel like I've always felt like that, like an outsider. That's such a good word. Yeah,
because that same thing. It was like they were nice kids in that small school, but I feel like that's why as soon as, we moved away, like we were never the friends that just like, oh, keep up and we're going to be friends for life. And, we're going to periodically visit each other, even if we're living across the country, it just feels like, yeah, I was just someone that it's like, as soon as you left, then it's just like, no, okay, I'm moving on with my life.
Yeah, I think that is one of my greatest fears, is that I don't mean as much to people as they mean to me. And I think that is an insecurity that is not always founded in fact, but it does affect the way that I make and keep my friends. And like as an adult, I am now realizing that friends come in all different tiers and fill different parts of your life and serve different purposes. That sounds kind of callous to say they serve a purpose, but like, I hope I serve a purpose to my friends, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember what else I was going to say.
But continuing on that too, and like what you were talking about, at this point, I would say at least half of who I consider like my very best friends at this moment are people that I met online.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, and it almost feels like, as I'm thinking about it, like how online dating changed things. And I feel like at this point, online dating has almost changed things to a negative because, you know, they try to match you up with people that are like you and what you're looking for. And I feel like it's gotten so now that people are just kind of like, I have to find someone who only checks all the boxes and that's it. So I feel like it's almost become a detriment. But since you're not looking for friends online in that way usually, then it seems like the people you meet online kind of hit that happy medium more. Like you probably found them because you were both like posting on some forum that you're both interested in. So you share something. And because of that, I feel like you make those like stronger connections.
Totally. The first time that I really felt like I belonged in a friend group, well, maybe not the first time. I don't know. Growing up, we would meet friends at church and stuff, but we moved around so much with the military, we never got to keep them very long. I remember like the first time that I cried over leaving a friend. I was like maybe 7 and we were moving from Connecticut to Illinois and I was so sad to leave my friend. I like cried in the parking lot, like all the way. I remember so clearly. I think it was snowing, but I just found some letters from her in a box the other day. And it made me realize like I am very good at keeping in touch with people from my past.
That's good because I feel like I am not.
Well, yeah, I mean...
What I feel like, I would say the past, but the more recent past, because again, I just have learned so much, especially since going 2 years of therapy, how much that town I lived in fucked me up with how weird they were. Because like more recent friends, like maybe, you know, a friend I made in college or a friend I made in Chicago, and then we'll lose touch. And I've thought about that because I feel like it is more on me. And I'm like, it's probably because I'm used to people treating me that way.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I thought like some of those people, when I think about it, I'm like, oh, I think they were genuine. And I bet they really would have liked to keep up. I don't think they were just like, oh, good, she's gone. We don't have to deal with her anymore.
I feel like you and I are two people that we are always assuming that people don't want to be around us or that people are thinking negatively of us. But I mean, at least for me, no one's ever really said that to me or made it obvious. It's just how I feel about myself. Like, I'm worried people will think I'm oversharing. Well, do I think I'm oversharing? Like, where does that come from?
Right.
And I think, yeah, that is a huge barrier to having real connections with people when you've already decided what they're thinking about you in advance.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of talked about this, but my next thing I said about friends was, are you good at making them?
Honestly, I think I am now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I only want to be friends with a very particular sort of person, if that makes sense.
Well, that's fine. I mean, you grow and you learn. Yeah.
I mean, I'm friendly towards everybody.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking, like, how do I make friends? I mean, I think I'm really good at telling if someone is also kind of an outsider. Like, we have kind of that radar, you know?
Yes.
And I'm really good at finding those people in a group and getting to know them. I mean, it's taken years and years of missed opportunities to get me to this point. And like, I still struggle with like wanting to talk to people, but feeling ashamed for approaching them.
Yeah.
Like, have you noticed when you ask someone out on a date, it's pretty straightforward. You're like, do you want to go on a date? But
right.
How do you ask to be someone's friend? You don't.
Exactly.
It's like this weird game where like you invite them to do something, and then the whole time you're wondering if they really want to be there or if they're just being polite. And then at the end you're like, well, okay, do we do this again? I don't know. What's your experience with making friends?
So another like past story that I wanted to tell that you reminded me of is, and because I think like when I went to junior high, that's when I was first going to public school. And I think I was probably, like feeling really down, and my mom noticed, because I know I had like some conversations with her then about, just feeling like, oh, like I can't get in with anybody and nobody notices me. Nobody seems to want to be my friend or anything like that. And she was just, noticing like the difference and just kind of like remembering this. And it was like, you know what you used to do when we first moved to the new city, and I was, like 7. When we first moved, we lived in a apartment and townhouse complex, and there were going to be lots of kids running around there. And she said like there was a playground kind of in our backyard, and she's like, you would see somebody new out on the playground and you would just shout at me, new kids to me, and you'd run out the door and go talk to them.
Oh my God.
And I just remember when she said that, because because I have a really good memory of like my childhood and things from when I was younger.
Must be nice.
Not always.
Yeah, obviously being facetious.
Yeah. And especially then, I mean, I'm having this conversation with her when I'm like 12 or 13. And so it was only like 6 years ago. And that was a moment where just like, it floored me, though, I remember, because I was like, I cannot even fathom how that could have been me.
That's literally what I was thinking. Like, that doesn't even sound like you.
Yeah.
Trauma.
And like, even at that age, it just kind of like struck me, I know, being like, wow, what happened that I changed so much?
I thought you remembered your childhood.
I did, except for that.
Well, yeah, what did happen? Well, I think you still are like that online.
Yes, that's why the ability to meet people online really helped my social life.
Tell me about it. When I discovered the internet, I was 12, and we had parental controls, but we were allowed to go to this one Lord of the Rings fan site, and it had a chat board. And so I would just start like writing fan fiction with these people online and exchanging emails with some of them. And it was all done in secret. So it felt like, I guess maybe... Sorry, I'm just processing this in real time,
no,
y'all.
A lot of this stuff I am too, because I am thinking something too that I had never had.
It's like when I did have friends, I felt guilty about them. Like it was something illicit. I don't know.
Oh, because you were doing it like online and stuff, and it was new then?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Because I think I had some of that feeling too.
This is also important. Up until that point, I had never had secular friends. All of my friends had been in the church or homeschool groups or Christian camp. Like I had a ton of friends that I would meet at camp over the summer, and we would write letters and emails and stuff. That's the thing. I think all of my friends have always been divided into these neat little categories. Like I have my camp friends, like I have my podcast friends, I have my peach friends, like I have my activism friends, and rarely do they overlap.
I was thinking, maybe not for everyone, but I do think like knowing us, for us in particular, it doesn't surprise me that our friendability suddenly kind of like exploded again when there was like ways to online. Because I thought of it when you mentioned that you were like writing fanfic on a Lord of the Rings site. And I know like those early sites especially, I'm like, oh yeah, you like picked some random username that, like no one could trace back to you or anything like that.
They had username generators.
Oh God,
Remember?
yes. So it was kind of like pulling on a persona and also keeping a little bit hidden while really getting to know certain aspects about people. And I just feel like that amount of anonymity, I can see that for both of us, just like we thrive in that sort of situation.
Totally. Well, the anonymity helps us get in the door. But I think once I'm in the door and I'm meeting people like me, it's also so much easier to be real online.
Well, yeah, because we both believe that us as people are not worth getting to know.
Yeah.
So when you get to hide some of that, then of course we...
That's so sad to hear you say that because it's true.
But it's true. We've both kind of discovered this as we're talking.
And like, I have so many amazing friends who love me and support me. And I don't feel like that as often now, but I don't know. It feels like I don't deserve friends.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a hard one to come around to because not sure that I want to say it that harshly as like I don't deserve friends, but it's kind of like I don't deserve close friends or I don't deserve something about it.
I know you mentioned talking about like how friends have hurt us, but I think it's also worth talking about like how we've hurt friends.
True.
Because like that is why I am any hesitation that comes from letting people into my life stems from the fact that I don't trust myself not to be a mess, or like I don't trust that I'll be able to be there for them all the time because I'm not. Like that's just a fact. I am not available for my friends all the time. And like now I know that's normal and healthy. Like no one is supposed to be your everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm allowed to not text my friends every day and like cancel plans and stuff, but I guess because I've been friends with people who'd made me feel shit for doing that, I'd rather just not even go there.
I feel like I probably am there for more things than that for my friends, and that is actually something that I do try to work on in the last few years because I feel like it's a detriment to myself. I mean, you know, to the point where it's like, I know that I will like move things around because it's like, oh, someone said they needed me. So I want to be needed. So yeah, I'll find a way to make it work, even though it's, you know, wildly inconvenient and possibly is going to like mess with me.
It's because we're people pleasers.
Exactly. But the other thing I was thinking is then like, if I really want to say no, I need to try and force myself to do that, is because if you are that sort of person and your friends are normal and have boundaries and sometimes do say no or, you know, like need to take time to themselves, then it starts to kind of like breed some resentment in you because you're like, geez, I would have been there for you.
Oh, yeah. If you're there for other people and then they cancel on you or whatever.
Yeah, where it's like, you cancel on me 50% of the time and I always am there for whatever you need. Okay.
You know, that is probably the greatest insecurity in friendship for me is like fear of disappointing or being disappointed. And that comes from having all of these expectations about what friendship is supposed to look like. And we both established like we didn't necessarily have a lot of experience growing up with friends. And now that I think about it, my parents never really had friends. And so it wasn't modeled to me.
Yeah. Going back to what I said at the beginning, how I learned so much later how toxic that town I lived in was. That's what happened to my parents too. Yeah, they had friends and they went out all the time, or when they could. I mean, we were poor and only had one car, but you know, but yeah, they definitely, you know, like they had friends and they seemed to have a good social life in the town I was born in, but I didn't witness that for very long. And that's what they said is they're like, everyone made us feel like an outsider. My mom had cousins that lived in that town. Like she had family there and they too were just like, my mom said they took her and my dad out to dinner once when they first moved and, you know, showed them a great time in Bay City, Michigan.
Booking my tickets next weekend.
Yeah. and she said, like, that was pretty much it then. It's like, then they never really called and, you know, they mentioned some things that they did, and my mom said she even, I think, like, asked them, like, oh, you know, I was interested in this, that you talked about, like, do you know how I can get into that? And they pretty much told her, like, yeah, we just kind of hang out with our own group.
Well, that sounds like performative friendship, which is a whole other thing. Like, you know, when you feel obligated to be friends with someone?
Yeah.
And that's not, I mean, it's different because it's family.
Yeah, I think that the impression that I got is that it was family where it was like, my mom felt close to them when she was growing up with them, and when they didn't live in the same town, like, they'd keep in contact, and it felt like, you know, we have a pretty good relationship. And as soon as like my parents got too close and invaded their space, they're like, oh, yeah, we're not going to be friends like that.
Disappointment.
Exactly.
And it's almost like, why have any expectations at all if you're just people are just going to disappoint you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, finding that out for the first time when I was like 30 is like, oh, so that's what was being modeled to me when I was 7, 8, 9, 10. It makes so much sense.
Well, yeah. So tell me about the most meaningful friendships, or like when you went to college, did you start making friends then? Like, when did you start having meaningful friendships, would you say?
Yeah, you nailed it. College was the 100% turnaround. Like,
me too.
Those are the days that I think of, and I still think of like stuff that I did with people, and it was so fun. I feel in like the people that I got close to, I'm like, oh, hanging out in their dorm rooms all the time. It felt like so comfortable.
At the same time, I think that also kind of set me up for thinking that it would be that easy in the real world. Mm-hmm. Like, I went to college at 18, like 500 miles away from home, and I met all these people at this Christian school. I met my first boyfriend. He was a musician, and he went to rock shows and drank and stuff. And then my roommate, sophomore year, we're still good friends. I just visited her in Boston. But she was also kind of a party animal. And so these are the people who shaped me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was just a sheltered homeschool kid before then. And so like friends really served a pivotal point in my life to help kind of guide me into this new world.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. By the end of college, there was like one person that I got really, really close to. And unfortunately, as an adult, she kind of showed her true colors a little more.
Or maybe she just changed, you know? People change a lot between college and adulthood.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that's
but I mean,
another thing.
But I feel like because, you know, her and I stayed close friends, like, all the time, like there was no break. I feel like when I look back, I'm like, yeah, those signs were kind of there, I think, in the beginning, but oh well.
Yeah.
But I do feel like because I, in college, really like latched onto that one person, that does make me think of like other people in college where I'm just like, and that's just like I was saying earlier, where it's like, I kind of am bad at keeping up relationships sometimes. So I'm like, those were good people and they just liked me for me, I can tell. I'm like, I probably should have kept up with them.
Well, it's never too late. Also, I've renewed friendships after, 5-10 years of not talking. And I've also ended friendships with people I've known for decades, and they just realized we didn't have anything in common. I think it's normal for friends to come in and out of your life. But that is one thing that I'm also really scared and sensitive about.
Yeah, the rejection.
Well, and okay, I remember what I was going to say earlier. We haven't even talked about the role of our mental illnesses in all this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've alluded to a lot with like our past, but yeah.
But yeah, like I absolutely, growing up, never talked to my friends about mental health. I wasn't even really aware of it or had language for it yet necessarily. But yeah, when I met those people online, that was really the first time I started telling people like, hey, I'm really depressed. I hate my family. I feel stuck. I don't know if I believe in God. Like, I still remember telling the first time I ever told a friend that I was self-harming. I couldn't even email it. I had to write it in a letter and send it to another country.
Oh, wow.
And then wait weeks for a response. Like, that's how much shame I had about it, which is hilarious now.
And was that somebody that you had first met online?
Yeah.
Then? Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, to this day, we've never met in person.
Yeah, so like it already had to feel like that level of detachment for you to say it, and then you had to go through all that just to say it.
Yeah, but I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that like being mentally ill definitely made it harder to make friends on top of being shy and introverted. And I think that's one reason I do gravitate towards mentally ill people. Like most of my friends are, fucked up in some way or another, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Oh man, I just thought of another topic. Like, what's the line between bonding with someone over mental illness and like negatively influencing each other?
Yeah, I think that was the main thing I was thinking. My other two questions we haven't really gotten to were just how do your friends help and how do they hurt?
Yeah, well, yeah, talk about your experience. I've been gabbing forever.
I mean, obviously, I feel like we've talked about a lot of ways that we helped, and I probably will talk about more. But in the mental illness community, then I do feel like there is a lot of ways that they can hurt. And the thing is I don't think for the majority that it is intentional.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like what's sad about that particular aspect is, that people are not intending to do it. But you, especially if you are someone that we've been talking about, like people that have felt like there's no reason for people to like me, or I've just kind of been ignored and brushed over a lot and taken advantage of, then I feel like that particularly makes it so that there's a propensity to want to tell war stories in mental illness.
Yeah, like one-upping each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know we've brought up that term at least before, and it's kind of like blurting out there, like, look at how bad things got for me, or like you said, like, oh, you've done this, I even did this.
Yeah, and like as a mentally ill person, I'm always worried that that's how I'm coming across to people. Like, I never want to center myself because I'm worried that they'll think I'm just trying to one-up them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely been people where it's almost triggering to talk to them about this stuff because they do kind of, some people almost are like competitive about it or proud of it.
Yeah.
Or like, okay, the most common thing is when people talk to you about something and it's clear that they're not trying to take any steps to fix it. They just want to like unload on you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that happen to you a lot?
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of people that, like might tell you about their worst moment, but they almost say it like they think it's an accomplishment. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we keep going back to this, but I've always said, I'm like, it's because we both deal with it in the eating disorder world.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you'll get a lot of people that are saying things like, oops, forgot to eat tonight. Ha ha ha. Well, at least I'll be skinny tomorrow. And it's kind of like they're saying this and it's coming off like in the tone they're saying it as like, yay, I did something good. Congratulate me. But I mean, the tone underneath always feels like they're saying it that way because they want people to be like, oh my God, no, I'm so concerned.
Yeah. Oh man, that just opened a whole can of worms. It's an hour in.
Yeah.
But no, like that is why, like when I do distance myself from friends, it's usually either because they are posting stuff like that and I don't want to be like, hey, I'm worried about you. Or I am wanting to be like that and I don't want anyone to interfere.
Or even I'm wanting to be like that, but there is still like that voice in the back of my head that's trying not to be like that. And I'm just like, you're not helping that little voice saying try not to. You're really helping that one that's saying, yeah, do the bad things.
Yeah, I don't want to enable anybody, but I also don't want to tell someone what to do with their life. Like all of my friends have autonomy and I need to respect that. But I also, if I'm a real friend, I'm not just going to sit by and watch them like kill themselves,
Mm-hmm.
That's so difficult to navigate for, people who struggle and also want to have fulfilling relationships, which is like all of us.
Yeah. Because you think, like, if you had a friend that was, like, constantly suicidal and, just, like, contacted you every time that they had some, like, suicidal ideation, and they're like, save me. And, I'm like, bitch, I got my own head to tell me these things.
What if you had a friend that was, like, always miserable, and then they went online and they talked about it on a podcast?
Oh, that'd be awful. I'd hate them.
I mean, you would be concerned, right? Or would you just...
No.
I don't... Okay.
No, I'd just be like, screw you. I gotta take care of myself.
I have had people approach me, though, and be like, hey, are you okay? And
yeah, I mean, we do put ourselves out there to a degree, so...
Yeah. I really don't feel like I have any advice to give in this area. Not that people want advice.
Yeah, because like we were just saying, I wouldn't want to tell people, like, stop being authentically you, because you might make someone feel bad. It's like, no, you should not censor yourself like that, but maybe understand that sometimes someone has to step away for themselves.
Yeah. Well, here's something we could kind of end on is like, what things have been most helpful for your friendships? Or like, what are some friendship green flags?
Green flags, I like that.
Like for me, if I get someone's number and they immediately just start texting me paragraphs, I love that. Especially if it's about like trauma. Or if someone, I don't know. I haven't thought about this beforehand.
I will say something, and this is great because it'll really full circle because it goes back to a good thing that happened with coworkers.
Tell me.
When we were all like on our lunch break one day a few weeks ago, it was somebody at work that I feel like I'm not the closest to. So it's one of the people that it's like, we're friendly, but I don't expect you to, like be concerned about me or think about me or anything. And they told me the story because I will randomly tell people about my irrational fear of blue food items.
Whoa, wait, I did not know about this.
That is just a thing with me. For some reason, artificially blue things, they freak me out to eat.
Good to know.
I don't know why. I suddenly got the idea that I did not want to, like, not know that I have, like, a dark blue dyed tongue. And other artificial colors are fine, but for some reason, blue.
God forbid you have a blue tongue. You know what that says about you.
But, like this conversation we just had, I apparently talked about that at work once, and it's amusing, and I'm weird, so apparently, that stuck in their memory. And the girl tells me, she's like, I thought you would enjoy, I went, to some place, and I think they had, like, some, like, fancy pastries or something like that, and she says, I was just, like, with all my friends who, none of them are going to know you or anything about work, and I just said, I know a person who would hate this and would not be able to eat it because it's blue.
Oh, that is honestly such a green flag when someone remembers something like seemingly insignificant about you and then they bring it up later and you're like, oh my God, you were listening.
Yeah, and that like they enjoyed me telling my story so much they told like a group of friends that have no clue who I am and don't really care. I was like, that makes me feel good.
That's a huge compliment, honestly. Like, I love bragging about my friends or like recycling friends' stories to other friends.
I agree.
Yeah, if you're my friend, odds are I've talked about you to one of my other friends.
Only if you told me something amusing. If I haven't talked about you, you're probably not funny.
Amusing, or no. What did you say? Amusing and awkward? Amusing and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my friends are also quite amusing and weird, and so it works. And that's another thing, like, finding your people. I think it takes a long time, but there really are people out there for everybody. It's just, like, finding your niche that's the hard part.
Yeah, like, I learned, as I grew up, how much I love making people laugh. And so then, you just gotta, like, find people that get your sense of humor. Then you're always making them laugh.
That's another thing. They gotta have a fucked up sense of humor.
Yes.
I just thought of a pickle poll. We can ask people a question about friendship.
Okay. Like,
what are your friendship green flags? Or like, what has helped you the most? How do your friends help you with your mental illness? Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. So follow us on Substack and answer the question. I'll also post it on Instagram. Yeah, we can see. We obviously don't really know what we're doing, and so we need friendship pros to weigh in.
Yeah, we need them to help us out.
Yeah, but with all that said, I'm really happy that we're friends.
Me too.
And like, I really love all the friends that we've met through this podcast. And yeah, hopefully this just starts a conversation and helps us learn that we're not alone.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good.
Yeah. Everyone stay safe, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. If you like what you heard, don't forget to tell a friend about our podcast. You can direct them to picklesandvodka.substack.com, where they can find our entire archive and also get access to our chat. We're on Instagram at Pickles and Vodka Podcast, Facebook.com/Pickles and Vodka Podcast, and YouTube.com/@Pickles and Vodka Podcast. My Instagram is at XtinaJumper, and Lauren is at LaurenAFH. We have a free support group every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. Go to join.freeconferencecall.com/picklesanonymous. We'll see you next week.